Hello everyone, welcome back to part 2 of the renovation series. In this part 2 I will be talking about prepping and painting the entire house, so all of the walls but also all of the wooden elements. Secondly, I will be talking about reusing the hard wooden floor to create window sills and create an entire new stairway from the old hard wooden floor. The new wooden floor came in, and I'll also talk about the decisions we made regarding that, and finally adding all of the paint details. If you haven't watched part 1 of the renovations yet, I definitely recommend doing that. It's about the first 8 weeks, so really from buying the house up to doing all of the rough work, such as getting rid of a wall, adding floor heating, and also adding leveling before all of the wooden floor comes in for this part. So let's jump right into the video. So before starting painting the house, we added a leveling to the floor, and this was sent by the contractor on January 18. So this is when it's dried up, and this helps for two reasons. One is that we don't damage the floor heating, but second also the wooden floor can be glued much better to this leveling. After that, it was all about doing preparations for painting the entire house. In a previous video I talked about the wooden beams and that we want to get rid of the paint on that. Eventually we decided not to do that and just paint it in the same color, because the wood was not in a very good condition. And before that, preparation took actually more than a day. The previous owners didn't really clean the house, and that's also one of the things with an old house, is that you will see suddenly that some window sills are very moist and wet, and so that had to be fixed with some isolation material. We got rid of the old sills, which was all very old, and what we decided to do is use the old hard wooden floor for the sills. So here you can see that I'm sanding them. We cut them in the right size and added those to the windows. I think it looks really good, and it's a nice way to recycle all of the old hard wooden floors that the previous owner had downstairs, and which we had to get out because they were a bit too thick to be useful for using it in combination with floor heating. So again, this is all of the preparation. We spent the entire Saturday on prepping, and with prepping I mean adding a primer to the wall so not too much paint is wasted when you're painting the walls. But secondly, also cleaning all of the window frames. And the previous owner had this, in my opinion, ugly kind of green color for all of the window frames. So on Saturday we started all of the prepping, and then on Sunday we started painting the entire house. Luckily I had some friends help out, so they painted one or two rooms, which was really helpful and nice, so we spent not too much time on that. But in general, I told Suzanne that we would probably finish on Sunday evening, and I think Tuesday evening we were still not ready, and more about that later on why. So this is the condition I was in after painting for a few days. Here you can see Suzanne painting those wooden beams. The most time we really spent on was painting all of the window frames. So I think all of the walls were done in like 3 days. What we did notice is that we had to go over it with 2 layers, sometimes even 3. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. And also one thing to keep in mind is that because it is an old house, is that all of the frames are wood, and you will need to use a wood paint for that. And all of them have a lot of details. So every edge has to be painted. And especially if you have a wooden frame that was painted in a dark green color, it means you'll have to give it about 2 to 3 layers of paint. But before that we also added a primer, and one of the things that I definitely recommend is to get a primer, like a decent primer, because the paint that we bought was really expensive, but then the primer we used was a bit on the cheap side. So definitely make sure to also use a proper primer and use paint that is quality. So everything needed to be painted, from the side skirts up to the doors, everything that is wood. And I think that was definitely something we didn't expect in the beginning, is that there are so many wooden elements in this house that took the most time. So I think, as I said, first I thought it would be taking 2 days of painting. Eventually I think we spent like 8 days or 9 days, if you count all of the hours, just painting all of the elements in all of the layers. So all of this needed to have 2 or 3 layers to make sure that it really covers in the right color, as you can see here. So that was it mostly for all of the painting. And as you can see, even on the sides of the stairs, it's all wood, so you may need to make sure to cover everything, paint it with a primer, and get a first and a second layer of the delicate caramel color. And then there was this stairs, so we got rid of all of the old stairs, which in the first place we didn't even see that there's wood on the old stairs. So definitely make sure to get rid of all of that. And then what we did is get all of the measurements. So we got rid of these old stairs, which was also wood, but then a lot of dirt had come on top of it. And actually before this it was all carpet. And the nice thing was, when we got it out like that, we were able to get the right size just by using the old stairs. But cleaning up the stairs, and that took a lot of time. I think in general you really forget how much time that takes. Luckily we were also able to use this place called Haagse Werkplaats in The Hague, which is very close to our new house. And here we were able to cut these things, these stair steps, actually much faster. But secondly also we wanted to create the stair noses, and they need to be a bit rounded for it to look like, much nicer. And we're also able to do that there. But most of the things we still did at home. My dad has all of the tools, and actually most of the credit goes to my dad, who spent more time working on the house than I did. So here you can see that I'm actually sanding the new stairs. So one stair of it, and attached to it is the stair nose. Again, for every stair need to be sanded, and all of this took a lot of time, a lot of patience, but the result is really there. So the back side of the stairs are this white MDF material, and the rest is all hard wooden floor. Just the material, if we would normally want to create stairs like that, would cost more than 10,000 euros probably, but we were able to use all of the old hard wooden floor, and I think the results look really slick. And then I got a call that the wooden floor came in. So this is all of the new wooden floor, and we actually were in the beginning not sure whether to want to use the old hard wooden floor or get this new wooden floor. Eventually we decided to go for the new wooden floor, because some people said that the old wooden floor, it was way too thick and it will not be great for floor heating. And just to be sure, I think it's nicer that, just to get a new floor and make sure that you don't regret it later. So we got a new wooden floor, which was quite expensive, but I do think it looks really nice. That's a lot of character to the house, and I think it's a good decision we went for this and not for like a cast floor instead. And this was something that also took a lot of time. I think the workers thought they would finish within 3 days, but again, because it's an old house from 1901, the house is not very straight, so adding all of the wooden planks here took a lot of time, and they spent more than 4 to 5 days to make sure that all of the rooms have a wooden floor. And one thing that we did is we added this a bit of like a rounded corner, and what we're going to do is add cast floor to the kitchen area and some parts at the entrance. So not everything is covered with wood, but more about that possibly in a part 3 of the renovations video. Again, they worked until the evening to get everything done, and the final result I think is amazing. The wood looks really nice, it gives a lot of character to the house once again. And here's actually one of the works that's showing me with a laser how crooked the house is, I would say. So it's not straight, not the walls, not the floor, and that's definitely something you will have to keep in mind when you buy an old house. And I think it would save some hassle and some time for us as well if we knew this beforehand. This is me unpacking a new mattress that I got. Because my dad came over quite often, it was easier for him just to kind of create a home almost for him here, so he could just come whenever he wants. So we painted this in a color called Dusty Coral, as far as I remember, to add a bit more color to the house and make sure it's not too sterile. And painting those arches was done by using a rope and a pencil, and the top part of the arch was done by using a thin line tape. This was quite expensive, like literally 10 or 11 euros for a roll of tape, but this did really help in making sure the arch is perfectly round. We did an arch on the first floor and also on the entrance, so we're actually on the second floor on the entrance, and then once getting rid of all of the tape, it is really satisfying. So part 2 of the renovations shows painting the entire house, but also reusing the old hardwooden floor for the stairway and the window sills. If there are a few things that I would do differently right now, even after me watching the entire video, is definitely making sure to get a good primer, but also get a paint that really covers most of the walls within one layer. So even though we used a really expensive paint called Sickens Easy Clean for entire second floor, which means you can clean the walls much easier if something comes on top of it, I would definitely go for a paint that covers it in once, because painting the entire house, it was done within a day, but painting a second and a third layer took much longer. And especially for the wooden frames, we went for Sickens Matte, so like a matte color. Even though, again, one of the most expensive paint, it took about 3 layers to really make sure that we didn't see the layer below of the ugly green on the wooden frames. So that's definitely something I would also check beforehand to make sure, hey, is this something that will cover it much faster within 1 or maximum 2 layers? Thirdly, but I think which is inevitable, is kind of getting an understanding of how long the painting can take. As I said before, the house has a lot of wooden elements with a lot of details, which is really beautiful, but that does take a lot of time. So keep that into consideration as well. Same for the wooden floor. Keep in mind that if you have a house that is very old, nothing is going to be very straight, and you need really well skilled workers that know how to deal with those situations. But it did mean that sometimes it took much more time than they even expected. So this was part 2 of the renovations. Don't forget to check part 1 if you haven't yet, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Ciao, ciao.